The morning sun rose over Kepler colony like it had for the past 12 years. The settlement stretched across green hills and valleys, with neat rows of houses, farms, and the central town square. 50,000 people called this place home. Far from Earth, but close to each other, Captain Jake Morrison stood on his office balcony, drinking his morning coffee. He watched children walk to school with their backpacks bouncing. Parents waved goodbye from doorways. It was a perfect day on a perfect world. Another quiet morning, Jake said to himself. He had been the colony's defense coordinator for 8 years. Most days, his biggest worry was keeping the power grid running or settling disputes between farmers. Down at the colony school, 8-year-old twins, Tim and Amy Baker, raced through the front doors. Their mother had packed them extra cookies for lunch. Amy carried her favorite stuffed bear, and Tim had his collection of space rocks. "I bet my rocks are from a real asteroid," Tim told his sister as they found their seats. "Bears are better." "Than rocks," Amy replied, hugging her stuffed animal. Their teacher, Mrs. Collins, smiled at them. She loved teaching the colony children. They were curious about everything and asked wonderful questions about the stars and planets around them. At the medical center, Dr. Lisa Grant finished her morning rounds. She was not just the colony's doctor, but also helped children who felt scared or sad. Today, she planned to visit the school and read stories to the younger kids. Perfect day for story time. She told her assistant. Commander Alex Torres walked through the security center, checking the daily reports. The overnight watch had been quiet. No problems with the perimeter sensors. No strange signals from space. The colony's defense systems showed green lights across the board. "Same as always?" Alex said to his team. "Keep watching, but I expect another boring day." Mayor Betty Ross sat in her office, reviewing plans for the colony's Harvest Festival. Her own 2 children would be performing in the school play. She wanted everything to be perfect for the families. The colony had been peaceful for so long that people forgot to worry about danger. Earth was far away, but they stayed connected through quantum messages. Other human settlements were scattered across this part of space, but Kepler colony felt safe and protected. At exactly 10:30 in the morning, everything changed. The sky above the colony suddenly grew dark. Massive shapes appeared out of nowhere, blocking the sun. The ships were enormous, each one longer than the entire town square. Their hulls were black metal, with strange symbols glowing red along the sides. Jake Morrison dropped his coffee cup. It shattered on the balcony floor as he stared up at the view. Alien vessels. His hands shook as he reached for his emergency communicator. "All units, this is Morrison. We have unknown ships over the colony. Repeat, unknown ships over the colony." The alien ships moved with purpose. They positioned themselves directly above the school, the daycare center, and the playground where children played during recess. In the school, Mrs. Collins looked out the window and gasped. The other teachers ran to see what was happening. Children pressed their faces against the glass, pointing at the strange ships. "Are those real spaceships?" Tim Baker asked. "They're so big," Amy whispered, holding her bear tighter. Bright beams of light suddenly shot down from the ships. The beams were blue and white, and they hummed with energy. They surrounded the school building like a cage made of light. "Children, stay calm," Mrs. Collins said, but her voice shook with fear. Commander Torres ran outside his building, shouting orders into his radio. "All security teams, get to the school now. We have an emergency situation." The light beams grew brighter. People could feel the energy in the air, making their skin tingle. Parents who saw the ships began running toward the school, desperate to reach their children. Dr. Grant jumped into her medical vehicle and raced through the streets. She could see people panicking, pointing at the sky, calling out for their kids. Inside the school, the children felt strange. The air seemed to sparkle around them. Some of the younger kids started to cry. The older ones, like Tim and Amy, held hands with their friends. "Don't be scared," Tim told the little kids. "My dad says humans are brave." The humming sound grew louder. Then something impossible happened. The children began to lift off the ground, surrounded by the blue light. They floated upward, still holding hands, still trying to be brave. Mrs. Collins and the other teachers grabbed for the children, but the light pushed them away. They could only watch as their students rose higher and higher. "No," Mrs. Collins screamed, "bring them back." Outside, parents arrived just in time to see their children disappearing into the alien ships. Mothers fell to their knees crying. Fathers shook their fists at the sky. Jake Morrison reached the school as the last child, vanished into the ships. He counted the empty classrooms. 127 children were gone. Just gone. "This can't be happening," he said. The alien ships began to move away from the colony. Before they left, they sent a message. The words appeared on every screen in the colony, written in broken human language. "Young specimens acquired for Imperial service. Resistance is futile." Then the ships disappeared, leaving only empty classrooms and broken hearts. Dr. Grant found parents collapsed on the school steps, sobbing for their lost children. She tried to comfort them, but what could she say? How do you heal a wound like this? Commander Torres gathered his security team. "We need to search everywhere. Maybe some children escaped. Maybe they're hiding," but they found nothing. Only scorch marks on the ground where the light beams had touched. Only silence where children's laughter used to be. Mayor Ross stood in the empty school cafeteria, looking at the tables still set for lunch. Half-eaten apples and open lunch boxes sat abandoned. Amy Baker's stuffed bear lay on the floor, dropped. When the light took her away, Jake Morrison worked frantically at his communication station. He sent emergency signals to Earth, to other colonies, to anyone who might help. His fingers flew over the controls as he typed the same message over and over. Emergency. Colony under attack. Children taken by unknown aliens. Request immediate assistance. The colony's people gathered in the town square that evening. They held candles and pictures of their lost children. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew how to fight ships that could appear from nowhere and steal children with beams of light. "We have to do something," said one father. "But what can we do?" asked a mother. "We're just farmers and miners. We don't have warships." Jake Morrison stood before the crowd. His own nephew had been among the taken children. His voice was strong, but his eyes were full of pain. "We won't give up," he said. "We'll find them. We'll bring them home." Just as the people began to lose hope, Jake's communicator buzzed with an incoming message. It was from Earth, transmitted across the vastness of space through quantum signals. Jake read the message aloud to the crowd. His voice grew stronger with each word. "Help is coming. Do not despair. We know where they're taking our children." The people of Kepler colony looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, their children were alive. Somewhere out there, help was on the way. They did not know that taking human children was the worst mistake the aliens could have made. They did not know that all of humanity was about to show the galaxy what happened when you threatened human young, but they would learn soon enough. The massive alien ship called Dominion's Edge moved through space like a metal city. Inside its dark halls, General Vextar walked with heavy steps. His 4 arms swung at his sides, and his red eyes glowed in the dim light. He was proud of today's mission. General Vextar had been a soldier for 40 years. He had conquered 12 different worlds and enslaved 23 species. Taking children was normal work for him. Young ones learned faster and caused less trouble than adults. Sub-Commander Krillinash, The general called to his intelligence officer. Report on the new specimens. Krillanash bowed his scaled head. We have acquired 127 young humans, General. They are between 5 and 12 years old, perfect for our purposes. Excellent, General Vextar said. Humans are a new species. We know little about them, but they seem weak. These children will make good workers and soldiers when properly trained. The Zephyrian race believed in strength above all else. In their culture, children meant nothing until they proved themselves in combat at age 16. Most alien species they conquered understood this. Parents would cry for a few days, then accept their loss and move on. Have Dr. Zephyrin examine the specimens, the general ordered. I want to know their capabilities. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Zephyrin prepared her equipment. She was the ship's expert on alien biology. Her job was to study new species and find the best ways to use them. The human children sat in a large, holding cell with walls made of energy. They huddled together on the cold metal floor. The younger ones cried softly, while the older ones tried to comfort them. 12-year-old Danny Cruz sat in the center of the group. His father had been an engineer who taught him about machines and problem solving. Danny studied everything around him with careful eyes. Don't cry, Amy, he said to 8-year-old Amy Baker, who clutched her stuffed bear. We need to be smart. About this, 11-year-old Katie Wells nodded. Her mother was a teacher, and Katie had learned to help younger children feel safe. Danny's right. We have to stick together. Tim Baker, Amy's twin brother, counted the other children. There are so many of us. Maybe if we all work together, we can figure something out. In the corner of the cell sat a man in torn human clothes. Lieutenant Gary Phillips had been a prisoner on this ship for 6 months. The aliens had captured him during a raid on a human transport vessel. His uniform was dirty, and his face was thin from poor food. You kids shouldn't get your hopes up, Gary said quietly. These aliens don't care about human feelings. They've done this to other species for hundreds of years. But Danny wasn't listening to the negative talk. He watched the guards who brought food. He studied the energy walls of their prison. He noticed how the ship's systems worked. Katie, do you see that panel over there? Danny whispered. The lights on it change in a pattern. I think it controls something important. Dr. Zephyrin entered the holding area with 2 guards. She was tall and thin, with purple skin and large black eyes. She carried a device that beeped and flashed. I need to examine several specimens, she announced in broken human language. The guards pointed at Danny, Katie, and Tim, the 3 children. Were separated from the group and taken to the examination room. Dr. Zephyrin ran her scanner over each child. She tested their reflexes, their strength, and their brain activity. What she found surprised her. Interesting, she muttered in her own language. These humans show unusual patterns. Most species became weak and submissive when separated from their families. Their brain scans showed fear and hopelessness. But these human children showed something different. They were afraid, yes, but they also showed determination, curiosity, and strong emotional bonds with each other. Tell me about your world, Dr. Zephyrin said to Danny. Danny looked at her with steady eyes. Why did you take us from our families? The question surprised the doctor. Other young aliens usually begged for mercy or asked when they could go home. This human child wanted to understand the situation. Your species is weak, Dr. Zephyrin explained. We use weak species to serve the Zephyrian Empire. You will work for us now. We're not weak, Katie said firmly. Humans are stronger than you think. Dr. Zephyrin made notes on her device. These children showed no signs of breaking. Instead, they seemed to be studying her just as much as she studied them. Back in the holding cell, the children shared everything they had learned. Danny drew diagrams on the floor with his finger. showing Katie and Tim what he had seen. "The ship has weak points," he explained. "And did you notice?" The doctor seemed surprised by our answers. Lieutenant Phillips watched the children with growing amazement. In 6 months of imprisonment, he had seen dozens of alien species brought aboard this ship, none of them organized like these human kids. "You know what's going to happen, don't you?" Phillips asked them. "Our parents will come." "For us," Amy said with complete confidence. Phillips smiled sadly. "Kid, your parents are farmers and shopkeepers. These aliens have warships and weapons beyond anything humans have ever seen." "You don't understand," Tim said. "When someone hurts human children, all humans get angry. Not just our parents, all of them." The older children began teaching the younger ones important things. Danny showed them how to share food fairly. Katie taught them songs to keep their spirits up. They created games to help pass time and keep everyone's minds active. Dr. Zeppelin reported her findings to General Vextar. "The human specimens are unusual, General. They show remarkable resilience and group cooperation. Is that a problem?" The general asked. "I am not certain. Most species become docile within days of separation from their families. These humans are organizing themselves and maintaining emotional strength." General Vextar dismissed her concerns. "All species resist at first. They will learn to obey." But Dr. Zeppelin was not so sure. She had studied many races, and humans were different. She returned to observe them again. She found the children sitting in a circle, sharing stories about their homes. Danny was explaining how human families worked. Katie was teaching alien words she had learned to the younger children. They were adapting to their situation while keeping their human nature intact. "We stick together," Danny was saying. "That's what humans do. We take care of each other." Lieutenant Phillips pulled Danny aside when the guards weren't watching. "Kid, I need to tell you something important. These aliens don't understand humans at all." "What do you mean?" Danny asked. "They think taking children is normal. In their culture, kids don't matter until they're old enough to fight. They've never met a species that loves children the way humans do." Danny's eyes grew wide with understanding. "So they don't know what's coming." "That's right," Phillips said. "They have no idea that every human in the galaxy is going to be hunting for you kids. They think your parents will just give up and accept the loss." Katie overheard the conversation. "They're going to learn they made a big mistake." In his command center, General Vextar received routine reports from across Zephyrian space. Ships reported successful raids on mining colonies. Ground forces sent updates on conquered worlds. Everything was normal in the Empire. "Sir," Subcommander Krillinash approached with a communication device. "We are receiving strange signals from human space." "What kind of signals?" the general asked. "Military communications, sir. Lots of them. Ships moving, fleets gathering. It seems unusual for such a primitive species." General Vextar waved dismissively. "Probably just their normal commerce. Humans are merchants and farmers. They pose no threat to the Empire." But Krillinash looked worried. "Sir, the communication volume has increased by 3,000% since we took the specimens. And we're detecting ships moving from multiple human worlds toward this sector." "Impossible," the general said. "No species has ever responded to child taking with military action. Parents mourn, then they move on. It is the natural order." Dr. Zeppelin entered the command center with her latest report. "General, I recommend we study these humans more carefully. They may be more dangerous than we assumed." "Dangerous?" The general laughed. "They are children. Weak, small children from a weak, small world." "That may be true, sir, but their behavior suggests their species has different values than others we have encountered. They speak of their families with unusual loyalty." They organize naturally and support each other instinctively. General Vexstar was getting annoyed. Doctor, you worry too much. In 40 years of conquest, I have never seen a species that could threaten the Empire over a few taken children. What General Vexstar did not know was that at that very moment, the largest military force in human history was being assembled. Ships from Earth, from the colonies, from corporate fleets, and from places he had never heard of, were all moving toward one destination dot in the holding cell. Lieutenant Phillips looked at the determined faces of the human children and smiled. For the first time in months. Kids, he said quietly, I think you're about to show these aliens what happens when you mess with human families. The news traveled across human space faster than the speed of light. Quantum communication arrays carried the terrible message from one world to another. Children had been taken. Human children had been stolen by aliens. On Earth, in the deep, underground chambers of the Defense Command Center, Admiral Frank Stone stood before the largest military display screen ever built. Red dots showed the locations of every human ship in the galaxy. Blue dots marked colonies and settlements. And in the center, a single orange dot marked where the alien ships had gone. How many children? Admiral Stone asked his aide. 127, sir. All between ages 5 and 12. Admiral Stone was a grandfather himself. He had served in the military for 35 years, fighting pirates and raiders across human space. But he had never seen anything like this. Send the alert to every human world, he ordered. Priority Alpha. Use the old codes from the Unity Wars. The Priority Alpha signal had not been used in 50 years. It meant that all humans, everywhere, were in danger. It meant that everything else stopped. Politics, trade disputes, corporate rivalries, none of it mattered anymore. Captain Susan Wright received the alert while her ship was patrolling the outer colonies. She was humanity's best tactical officer, known for solving impossible problems. When she read the message, her hands shook with rage. Navigation? Plot a course for Earth. Maximum speed, she ordered. Captain, we're supposed to patrol this sector. For another month, her first officer said. Not anymore. They took our children. We're going to war. On Mars, the isolationist government had spent decades refusing to help other human colonies. They believed in taking care of themselves and no one else. But when the Mars Council received news of the child abduction, something changed. Council leader Patricia Adams stood before the emergency session. I call for a vote. Do we commit the entire Mars fleet to rescue these children? The vote was unanimous. Every ship, every pilot, every weapon Mars had would join the fight. Dr. Peter Hayes worked in his laboratory on Luna, studying alien psychology and warfare. He had spent years learning about different species across the galaxy. When Admiral Stone called him, he was ready with answers. The aliens are called Zephyrians, Dr. Hayes explained over the video link. They're a warrior culture that has conquered dozens of worlds. They take children because they think it breaks the spirit of the conquered species. What don't they understand about humans? Admiral Stone asked. Everything, sir. They have no concept of our family bonds. In their culture, children are worthless until they prove themselves in combat. They think taking children is like taking livestock. Admiral Stone leaned forward. What happens when they learn the truth? Sir, I believe they will panic. No species they have encountered has ever valued children the way humans do. They are completely unprepared for our response. The mobilization began immediately. Corporate mining fleets donated their ships. Luxury passenger liners were converted into troop transports. Even criminal organizations offered their services. For free. Captain Bill Murphy commanded a fleet of cargo haulers. His ships were slow and unarmed, but they could carry supplies. When he heard about the children, he called every cargo captain he knew. "We're going to help bring those kids home," he told them. "I don't care if we lose every ship we own." Number 1 steals human children. The response was overwhelming. Ships that had been enemies the day before now worked together. The Mars Federation shared their most advanced technology with Earth. The outer colonies sent their best pilots. Corporate executives opened their private fleets to the military. Colonel Nick Davis commanded the elite Special Operations Forces. His teams were trained for the most dangerous missions in human space. When Admiral Stone called him, he was ready. "I need you to find those children," the Admiral said. "Consider it done, sir. My teams will get them back." "This isn't just a rescue mission, Colonel. This is a message to the galaxy. We need to show everyone what happens when you threaten human children." Within 12 hours, the largest military force in human history was gathering near Earth. Ships arrived from every corner of human space. Battle cruisers, fighters, transports, medical ships, and supply vessels formed a massive fleet. Captain Wright took command of the advanced scouts. Her job was to find the alien ships and gather intelligence. She handpicked the fastest, most advanced stealth ships in the fleet. "Our mission is simple," she told her captains. "Find our children, learn everything about these aliens, and prepare the way for the main fleet." The stealth ships launched from Earth like invisible arrows. They used technology that bent light around their hulls, making them impossible to detect. Each ship carried the most advanced sensors humanity had ever built. Dr. Hayes worked with the intelligence teams to understand Zephyrian psychology. "They will expect us to negotiate," he explained. "They will expect us to offer trade or surrender. They have no idea that we would rather die than let them keep our children." Meanwhile, quantum messages were sent through hidden relay networks. The messages were encoded in children's games and nursery rhymes. To the aliens, they would seem like random noise. But human children would understand. "Help is coming," the messages said. "Be brave, be smart, we will find you." On the colony worlds, parents waited for news. They gathered in town squares and community centers, holding pictures of their children. But they were not just grieving. They were preparing. Farmers welded armor plating onto their tractors. Miners converted their drilling equipment into weapons. Teachers organized supply drives. Everyone wanted to help bring the children home. Mayor Betty Ross worked day and night coordinating the colony's efforts. "We may not have warships," she told the colonists, "but we have something more important. We have love for our children that these aliens cannot understand." The fleet continued to grow. Ships arrived from settlements that most people had never heard of. Research stations sent their security forces. Mining operations contributed their heavy equipment. Even the generation ships that traveled between stars changed course to join the fight. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the fleet assemble. 2,000 ships of every type and size floated in formation around Earth. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving messages from non-human species." "What kind of messages?" "The Centauri Alliance wants to know if we need medical supplies. The Vegan Trade Union is offering fuel and parts. Even some species we've never met before are sending support." Admiral Stone was surprised. Why would they help us? Dr. Hayes had the answer. "Word is spreading through the galaxy, Admiral. Other species are learning that humans value their children above everything else. Some of them have lost children to the Zephyrians too. They want to see what happens when someone finally fights back." The fleet was ready. Every ship had been armed and supplied. Every crew member knew their mission. They were not just going to rescue 127 children. They were going to send a message that would echo across the galaxy. All ships, "This is Admiral Stone," the Admiral broadcast to the fleet. "We are about to show the universe something it has never seen before. We are going to show them what humans do when our children are threatened." Captain Wright's stealth ships had already departed, racing towards Zephyrian space. Behind them came the main fleet, moving like a storm across the stars. On distant worlds, alien species watched their sensors with amazement. Never before had they seen such a massive fleet assembled so quickly. Never before had they seen an entire species unite for war in less than a day. The Zephyrians had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked the one thing that could unite all of humanity. They had threatened human children. Now they were about to learn why that was the worst decision they could have made. In the depths of space, the human fleet moved toward its destination. Every person on every ship carried the same determination. They would bring their children home. They would make sure this never happened again. And they would teach the galaxy that human children were not specimens to be taken. They were treasures, to be protected no matter the cost. The war for humanity's children had begun. Captain Susan Wright's stealth ship moved through space like a ghost. Her advanced sensors swept the dark emptiness, searching for any sign of the alien fleet. For 3 days, she and her team had followed the trail left by the Zephyrian ships. "Captain, I'm picking up energy signatures," her sensor officer reported. Large structures ahead. On the main screen, a planet appeared. It was gray and cold, covered with massive buildings that looked like prisons. This was Kepler, the Zephyrian processing world where they brought captured aliens before sending them to work camps. There, Wright pointed to a cluster of ships in orbit. The Dominion's edge. That's where our children were taken. Wright activated her communication system and sent a coded message back to the human fleet. "Found them. Beginning rescue operation." Her team of 12 stealth ships moved closer to the planet. They used advanced scanners to study the prison facilities below. What they found amazed them. "Captain, you need to see this," her intelligence officer said. The scanners showed the prison where the human children were being held. But instead of broken, frightened kids, they saw something incredible. The children had organized themselves into groups. They were teaching each other, sharing food, and taking care of the younger ones. "Look at Sector 7, the officer continued. "The children have created some kind of school system, and they're teaching other alien prisoners." Wright watched the scanner displays with growing pride. Danny Cruz, the 12-year-old leader, was showing a group of alien prisoners how to share resources fairly. Katie Wells was teaching human songs to children from other species. The human kids had turned their prison into a community. "They haven't given up," Wright whispered. "They're still fighting in their own way." Wright's team spent hours studying the prison layout. They identified guard positions, security systems, and escape routes. But most importantly, they established contact with the children using quantum communication technology. Wright sent a coded message to Danny Cruz. The message was hidden in the sound pattern of a simple children's game that all human kids knew. Danny was sitting with the other children when he heard the familiar tune playing softly through the prison's communication system. His eyes went wide as he recognized the code his father had taught him. "Katie, Tim, come here quick," Danny whispered. "That's not just music. Someone is talking to us." The children gathered around as Danny decoded the message. "Help has arrived. Be ready. Follow the lights when they appear." Danny looked up at the ceiling with tears in his eyes. "They came for us," he said. "They really came." The rescue operation began at midnight, prison time. Wright's stealth ships moved into position around the facility. They used advanced technology to disable the alien security systems without triggering alarms. "Phase 1 complete," Wright reported. Moving to extraction points. Small teams of human soldiers materialized inside the prison using personal teleportation devices. They wore advanced armor that made them nearly invisible. The first team reached the children's holding area. "Are you Danny Cruz?" the team leader asked quietly. Danny nodded, trying not to cry with relief. "We're here to take you home, son." But Danny surprised the soldier with his next words. "We can't leave yet. There are other prisoners here, kids from other worlds. We can't abandon them." The soldier looked at Danny with respect. "What do you mean?" "There are 300 prisoners in this facility," Katie Wells explained. "Some are children like us. Some are adults who are taken from their families. We know where they all are." Danny had spent weeks mapping the prison layout. He knew every guard rotation, every locked door, every prisoner location. The human children had not just survived their captivity, they had prepared for rescue. "We can guide you to everyone," Tim Baker said. "But we all leave together or nobody leaves." The rescue team leader made a quick decision. "Command, this is Alpha Team. The children want to rescue all prisoners. Requesting permission to expand the mission." Captain Wright's voice came back. Immediately, permission granted. "Let's show these aliens what human compassion looks like." What followed was the most complex rescue operation in human military history. Using the children's intelligence, the teens moved through the prison like water through cracks. They freed alien prisoners who had been captive for years. The human children insisted on helping. Danny showed the soldiers hidden passages he had discovered. Katie comforted frightened alien children who didn't understand what was happening. Amy Baker shared her stuffed bear with a scared alien child who was crying. "You're safe now," Amy told the alien child. The humans came to save everyone. Lieutenant Gary Phillips, who had been imprisoned for months, watched in amazement as the human children led other species to safety. "I've never seen anything like this," he told Wright. "These kids have turned a rescue mission into a liberation." As the evacuation continued, Dr. Zeppelin detected unusual activity in the prison systems. She ran to General Vextar's command center. "General, something is wrong at the processing facility," she reported. "What kind of wrong?" Vextar asked. "Multiple system failures. Communication blackouts. It appears coordinated." General Vextar studied the reports coming from Kepler. For the first time in his military career, he felt something he had never experienced before. Uncertainty. "Send a patrol to investigate," he ordered, but it was too late. By the time Zephyrian ships reached the prison, it was empty. Every prisoner had been evacuated. The only thing left behind was a message written on the wall in multiple languages. "You took our children. We took everyone." Back aboard the rescue ships, the human children were reunited with their families via quantum communication. Parents cried with joy as they saw their kids safe and healthy. But the children had changed during their captivity. They were still loving and innocent, but they had also become leaders. They had learned that humans could stay strong even in the darkest situations. "Mom, we helped save everyone," Amy Baker told her mother over the communication link. "There were kids from other worlds who were scared, and we made them feel better." Danny Cruz spoke to his father with pride in his voice. "Dad, we used everything you taught me about engineering and problem solving. We mapped the whole prison and planned the escape routes." As the rescue ships moved away from Zeethmore, Captain Wright received an urgent message from Admiral Stone. "Captain, our long-range sensors are detecting something massive approaching your position." "What kind of massive?" Wright asked. "The entire Zephyrian battle fleet. It looks like they're finally taking us seriously." Wright looked at the rescued children playing together in the ship's common area. Human kids were teaching alien children Earth games. Everyone was sharing food and stories. It was beautiful. "Admiral, request permission to transmit a message to the Zephyrian fleet." "Granted, Captain." Wright opened a communication channel to General Vextar's flagship. Her message was simple and direct. General Vextar, this is Captain Susan Wright of the Earth Defense Force. We have rescued our children and 300 other prisoners from your facility. They are all safe and returning to their families. There was a long pause before General Vextar responded. Captain Wright, you have committed an act of war against the Zephyrian Empire. General, you committed an act of war when you took our children. The difference is, we're just getting started. Wright cut the communication and turned to her crew. Send a message to Admiral Stone. Tell him the children are safe and we're ready for Phase 2. What General Vextar didn't know was that the rescue mission was only the beginning. The real demonstration of human power was about to arrive. In the distance, space itself began to shimmer and bend. Admiral Stone's massive fleet was emerging from hyperspace, 2,000 ships strong and ready for battle. General Vextar watched his sensors with growing horror as ship after ship appeared on his screens. He had never seen a fleet this large or this organized. Sir, Sub-Commander Krillinash said with fear in his voice, they're transmitting a message to our entire fleet. Admiral Stone's voice echoed through every Zephyrian ship in the system. General Vextar, you took our children. Now you learn why that was a mistake. General Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the display screen in disbelief. 2,000 human ships filled space around his fleet. He had conquered dozens of worlds and fought hundreds of battles, but he had never seen anything like this. Sub-Commander, report, he ordered with a shaking voice. Sir, we count 2,047 human vessels. They include battle cruisers, destroyers, fighters, and ships of unknown design. They have us completely surrounded. General Vextar had 800 ships in his fleet. It was the largest force the Zephyrian Empire had ever assembled. But the humans outnumbered them by more than 2 to 1. How is this possible? He whispered. They are a primitive species. Where did they get so many ships? Dr. Zeflin rushed onto the bridge with her datapad. General, I have been studying the human response. This is not a military fleet in the traditional sense. What do you mean? Vextar asked. These ships come from everywhere in human space. Military vessels, cargo haulers, passenger ships, mining equipment, even luxury yachts. They have all been converted for war. General Vextar could not understand what he was seeing. No species has ever responded to child-taking with total mobilization. This is impossible. Admiral Stone's voice echoed through the Zephyrian fleet again. General Vextar, I am Admiral Frank Stone of the Earth Defense Force. We need to talk. I will not negotiate with primitives, Vextar replied angrily. This is not a negotiation, General. This is a demonstration. You took our children. Now you learn what that means. The human fleet began to move. But instead of attacking, they did something that confused the Zephyrians completely. The ships arranged themselves in perfect formation, creating a massive pattern in space. What are they doing? Vextar asked his officers. Captain Susan Wright, now leading the tactical squadron, coordinated the demonstration. The human ships used advanced technology that the Zephyrians had never seen before. Ships appeared and disappeared using stealth systems. Others created energy barriers that could block any weapon. Phase 1, begin precision strikes, Admiral. Stone ordered. What happened next shocked General Vextar to his core. The human ships attacked with surgical precision. They targeted only weapon systems and engines, leaving life support and crew quarters untouched. Zephyrian ships were disabled, but not destroyed. Sir, they are not trying to kill us, Sub-Commander Krillinash reported in amazement. They are showing mercy. This confused the Zephyrians more than any direct attack would have. In their culture, enemies were either destroyed or conquered, but the humans were demonstrating their power While avoiding unnecessary death, Dr. Zeppelin watched the battle displays with growing understanding. General, they are not fighting like any species we have encountered. They are showing us they could destroy us, but they choose not to. Within 1 hour, half of the Zephyrian fleet was disabled. Their ships floated helplessly in space, crews alive but unable to fight. The human fleet had barely used a fraction of their firepower. "This is impossible," General Vextar said. "We are the greatest warriors in the galaxy." Admiral Stone's flagship approached the Dominion's edge. A docking tube extended between the ships. "General Vextar, I am coming aboard. We will meet face to face." "I will not surrender to primitives," Vextar declared. "This is not about surrender, General. This is about understanding." Admiral Stone walked through the docking tube with only 2 guards. He was an older human with gray hair and kind eyes. He did not look like a conqueror. He looked like a grandfather. General Vextar met him in the conference room, surrounded by his officers. The Zephyrian general was twice as tall as the human admiral and had 4 powerful arms. But somehow, Admiral Stone seemed more dangerous. "You have impressive technology," General Vextar said, "but you cannot defeat the entire Zephyrian Empire." Admiral Stone sat down calmly. "General, you still don't understand what happened here. Explain it to me. You took our children. In human culture, children are not just the future of our species. They are our most precious treasure. Every human child is loved beyond measure." General Vextar looked confused. "Children are weak. They cannot contribute until they prove themselves in combat." "That is where you are wrong," Admiral Stone said. "Human children are not weak. They are our strength. Every human adult would die to protect any human child." Dr. Zeppelin stepped forward. "Admiral, during my examination of the human specimens, I observed unusual behavior patterns. They maintained group cohesion and emotional stability despite separation from their families. Those children you took," Admiral Stone continued, "they organized themselves in your prison. They helped other species. They turned captivity into community. They showed more leadership in a few weeks than most adults show in a lifetime." General Vextar was beginning to understand something that frightened him. "You assembled this entire fleet for 127 children?" "General, we would have assembled 10 times this fleet if necessary. We would have fought the entire galaxy if that's what it took to bring our children home." The Zephyrian general sat down heavily. "This makes no tactical sense. You risked your entire species for such a small number." "You still don't get it," Admiral Stone said. "We didn't risk our species. We saved it. Every human in the galaxy now knows that we will never abandon our children. Every other species now knows that human children are protected by the full might of humanity." Sub-Commander Krillinash looked at his sensor readings. "General, we are receiving communications from across the galaxy. Other species are asking about this battle." Dr. Zeppelin checked her datapad. The Centauri Alliance is offering to mediate. The Vegan Trade Union wants to establish formal relations with humanity. Even the isolationist species are requesting information about human culture. Admiral Stone smiled. "Word travels fast in space, General. Every species in the galaxy is learning what happens when you threaten human children." General Vextar realized that everything had changed. For 40 years, he had conquered through fear and overwhelming force. But the humans had shown something different. They had demonstrated power combined with restraint, justice combined with mercy. "What do you want from us?" the general asked. "Simple terms," Admiral Stone replied. "First, no more child-taking from any species, anywhere. Second, reparations to every world your empire has raided. Third, the release of all prisoners in Zephyrian custody." "And if we refuse?" Admiral Stone gestured toward the window, where the massive human fleet waited in perfect formation. "General, we have shown you what 2,000 ships can do in 1 hour. We have 40,000 more ships that can be here in a week. We have the entire industrial capacity of human space committed to this cause." General Vextar looked at Dr. Zephelin. She nodded slowly. "Admiral, the human response suggests a level of species unity we have never encountered. They appear capable of sustained total war if their children remain threatened." The Zephyrian general made a decision that would change galactic history. "I accept your terms." But Admiral Stone was not finished. "There is one more thing, General. I want you to visit our colony. I want you to see human children in their natural environment." 3 weeks later, General Vextar's shuttle landed on Kepler colony. The entire population had gathered to meet him. But instead of anger or fear, he saw something that amazed him. The human children who had been prisoners on his ship ran up to greet him. Danny Cruz, Katie Wells, Tim and Amy Baker, they all smiled and welcomed him to their world. "General Vextar," Danny said, "we want to show you our school and our families." The Zephyrian general spent 3 days on Kepler colony. He watched human children play, learn, and grow. He saw how human parents cared for their young with endless patience and love. He observed how the entire community worked together to protect and nurture every child. Dr. Lisa Grant gave him a tour of the medical center. "General, human children are not just physically resilient. They are emotionally and mentally stronger than most adults. They adapted to captivity, organized themselves, and even helped other species. That is not weakness. That is incredible strength." On his final day, General Vextar sat with the children in their school. Amy Baker showed him her stuffed bear. Tim Baker shared his rock collection. Katie Wells taught him a human song about friendship. "Why do you not hate me?" the general asked them. "I took you from your families." "Because you didn't know," Danny Cruz replied. "You thought taking children was normal. But now you know it's wrong. That's what matters." General Vextar returned to his ship with tears in his eyes. He had discovered something that would change not just the Zephyrian Empire, but his own understanding of what it meant to be civilized. He sent a message to the Empire's ruling council. "We have encountered a species that values their children. Above conquest, above wealth, above everything else. They have shown us what we could become if we chose compassion over conquest." The Zephyrian Empire began the greatest transformation in galactic history. They released all prisoners, paid reparations to conquered worlds, and established the first galactic treaty protecting children of all species. General Vextar retired from military service and became an ambassador. He spent his remaining years traveling the galaxy, telling other species about the humans who changed everything by simply loving their children.